Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're getting right into something literally foundational to life on Earth, soil microbiology. We're going to explore the massive, dual-natured impact of soil organisms. It's fascinating because this microscopic world beneath our feet acts as both an absolute essential nutrient engine and, well, a potential threat. So let's just dive right in and see exactly how this microscopic double-edged sword operates. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. First, nitrogen systems. Second, phosphorus solubilization. Third, biocontrol of diseases. Fourth, plant growth promoters. And finally, number 5, harmful activities.
Okay, Section 1, Nitrogen Systems.
So nitrogen is absolutely foundational to plant growth, right? But plants can't just pull it out of the air themselves. Microbes are actually the primary engines providing this elemental nitrogen to the soil by combining it into organic forms, and the sheer scale of this biological process is staggering, 175 million megagrams. That's the quantity of nitrogen fixed globally by biological organisms every single year. What's truly incredible here is that this natural microbe-driven process actually exceeds the total amount of nitrogen we apply globally through chemical fertilizers.
Let's break down this biochemical process. It starts when elemental nitrogen, or N2, combines with 6 hydrogen atoms and 6 electrons. Now, the actual site where this reduction happens is an enzyme called nitrogenase. Nitrogenase is really interesting. It's a 2-protein complex made up of a large molybdenum-containing member and a smaller companion containing iron. This specific enzyme reduces the nitrogen into ammonia, which then converts into amino acids, and finally forms the proteins that are essential for life.
Nature brilliantly uses a few different systems to get this done. In symbiotic systems, like rhizobilium bacteria living right in the nodules of legumes, the efficiency is incredibly high. We're talking yields anywhere from 50 to 150 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare every single year. Compare that to non-symbiotic systems, which are basically free-living in the soil and water. Organisms like aerobic azotobacter or anaerobic clostridium, they don't associate directly with plants, and because of that, they fix a much lower amount, around 5 to 20 kilograms per hectare.
But, nature always has a counter-process. While some microbes fix nitrogen, others actually remove it through a process called denitrification. Think about flooded soils, where the oxygen supply is virtually cut off because of very low diffusion rates. Under these specific conditions, facultative anaerobes, like Pseudomonas or Bacillus, actually shift their respiration. They utilize nitrate as a terminal acceptor instead of oxygen. They systematically reduce it to nitric oxide, nitrous oxide, and finally back to nitrogen gas. This reversal process is no small thing. It leads to a massive 10 to 40% loss of applied nitrogen.
So, what drives this? Well, denitrification is heavily influenced by things like high organic matter, specific moisture regimes, soil type, and high temperatures. But here is a crucial detail to remember. When the soil pH drops below 7.0, that nitrogen is lost specifically as N2O, or nitrous oxide, and that directly causes atmospheric pollution.
Moving on to Section 2, phosphorus solubilization. When phosphorus is released during mineralization, it very often converts into an insoluble inorganic compound, and unless microbes step in to solubilize those compounds, that phosphorus just remains completely unavailable to the plants. The main players here include P-solubilizers, like Bacillus bacteria and Aspergillus fungi, and P-absorbers, like VAM fungi, which explore more area to utilize immobile elements. Fascinatingly, among the different solubilizers, fungi are actually more efficient than bacteria, but they aren't commercially exploited for this. Why? Because they also happen to cause diseases in crop plants.
Which brings us to Section 3, Biocontrol of Diseases.
Shifting gears from nutrient chemistry over to plant health, biocontrol is an environmentally friendly alternative to chemical pesticides. By definition, it refers precisely to the use of beneficial microbes to suppress harmful pathogens. It's essentially an ecosystem battle happening right there in the soil, utilizing specific bacteria, fungi, and actinomycetes to actively protect plants from diseases.
There are 5 incredible mechanisms at play here. First up is antagonism, which is producing antimicrobial compounds. For example, Trichoderma species produce enzymes that literally break down the cell walls of soil-borne fungal pathogens like Fusarium. Second is competition, simply fighting for essential nutrients in space. Third is induced systemic resistance, or ISR, and this acts exactly like a vaccination effect for the plant's own immune system.
Fourth is mycoparasitism, where beneficial fungi physically attack and kill pathogenic fungi. And finally, the fifth is releasing volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, which suppress pathogen growth.
All right, Section 4, Plant Growth Promoters.
So microorganisms don't just defend plants, they actively secrete substances to promote growth and stress resistance. Soil microbes produce various plant growth-promoting substances, or PGPS. These include specific phytohormones, namely auxins, cytokinins, and gibberellins, alongside enzymes, vitamins, and amino acids. These are literally the molecular tools that microbes use to enhance plant development.
The key mechanisms of plant growth promotion really tie everything we've discussed together. They include processes we've already covered, like nitrogen fixation and phosphate solubilization, as well as the biocontrol of pathogens. But it also includes the direct production of phytohormones. For instance, microbes produce auxins to regulate root growth and cytokinins to promote cell division. Furthermore, they provide stress tolerance. Microbes produce osmoprotectants that enhance a plant's ability to survive abiotic stresses, things like extreme temperatures, drought, and salinity.
Finally, Section 5. Harmful activities.
We absolutely have to look at the complete picture here and the strict factual realities of the dark side of soil organisms. The soil food web isn't always helpful to agriculture. Rodents, snails, slugs, and nematodes cause great physical damage to plants. Many soil-borne diseases are driven directly by fungi, bacteria, and actinomycetes. Microbes also offer fierce competition to higher plants for available nutrients, especially when carbon sources are present. Furthermore, under conditions of poor drainage, soil organisms deplete available oxygen, which hampers plant growth. And perhaps most dangerously, under anaerobic conditions, bacteria can transform nutrients like potassium and zinc into forms that are entirely unavailable to plants, while simultaneously transforming elements like iron and manganese into levels that are actively toxic.
And that brings us to our conclusion. The soil microbiome is a microscopic double-edged sword. On one hand, it drives the vital nutrient cycles of nitrogen and phosphorus and provides brilliant biocontrol and growth promotion. Yet, it simultaneously harbors devastating diseases, fierce nutrient competition, and toxic chemical transformations. So based strictly on the reality of this complex ecosystem, how do we best manage this delicate balance to feed a growing world? That is the ultimate question for modern soil science. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the ground beneath your feet.